Hi everyone, this is Teen by Dirt Therapy, and today I'm going to be working on digging up canna bulbs and overwintering. So I'm going to be doing all of the prep work that we need to be able to store them in the house over winter. Now this is specific to cooler climates. So for example, I am in a 5B, 6A hardiness zone, and this is something that we have to do here in our cooler climate zone in order to have them survive for the next year's planting. Warmer climates will not necessarily need to do the same prep as we do here in our cooler zone. So this is just some things that I have learned over the years about prepping and overwintering the canna bulbs. And you won't want to miss, I have a really special tip that I'm going to share in this video as well. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. I am Tina with Dirt Therapy Gardens. We're here in eastern Nebraska, zone 5B to 6A. And I love sharing my garden with you, sharing tips and tricks, and even taking you along with different projects that I've been working on in the garden. And please stay tuned every Tuesday for new content. I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around, and we're going to start working on the canna prep. Before I start digging out all of these cannas, I wanted to give you a quick tip. I think these could resemble corn stalks very easily once dried and brown. So for years, when I am working on digging out the cannas, what I will do is dig the cannas out. I will cut the tops off of the stalk away from the rhizome, and then I will dry these on our basketball court. And once they're dry, I can bundle them and use them as fall decoration. So what an easier way to utilize what you already have instead of going out and buying a whole bunch of corn stalks. Now I want to show you the first one. So this was only one bulb that I planted, and it has a whole bunch of rhizomes that come off of it. So it really makes for more plants. So out of all of these, I have 3 plants. As long as it has roots on it, you are good to go. So I would just cut the stalks off just enough to where you still have a little bit of this green growth, and that is how I would store them. So cut it about right here. This part will be go in storage, and the rest of it will go as decoration. These feel like potatoes to me, where you get to dig down and you really get surprised on how many you're going to see in there. Just like you get that excitement for potatoes. It's almost like looking for buried treasure. Now see, this one has a fresh cut, so I just like I cut it off. But it's okay if you let these dry, as long as they have the roots and some kind of sprouts. And I should have mentioned that before. They have to have roots in the sprouts in order to continue. Sometimes if they don't pull apart very easily and it looks like it's one full, I'll just cut off both of these and leave this whole bulb or rhizome intact. they can spread out pretty far. It is astounding how many we got. I only planted maybe about 25, and we have probably quadrupled the amount of cannas that we have. Pretty exciting. Wow, guys, this is incredible. I cannot believe how many cannas are lined up ready to start chopping and drying. It is super exciting, and I think it was a huge success. One thing that I have learned over the years of planting cannas is that they're so much easier, if you have to dig them up, to plant them in a loose potting soil instead of straight in the ground, because the ground gets tough, it gets packed, and it may not have the ability to loosen the soil around the cannas, and it really makes it a lot easier to dig them if you have a loose soil mix. Now, it's a little different if you're in a warmer climate and you can keep them in the ground. They'll just go dormant and come back every year. It's been a few days and the cannas are drying out. So all of the stalks are drying and turning brown, which is really a good news. That is exactly what we want to do, so we can turn them into corn stalks, bundle them up, and use them as decoration, which is really exciting because I learned this trick many years ago and thought, why would I want to spend on corn stalks when these look so similar and nobody else is going to know the difference? So I am so happy to share this idea with you. So we're going to take a look at what they're looking like today, and I'm also going to be cutting off the bulbs themselves. So I'm going to be cutting the rhizomes off of the stalks and bringing them in the house. It has been a beautiful time right now. It's been in the 80s again. We've only had a few days that has been in the low 30s. We did have a freeze last week, but it is right back up into those 80s and lows in the 50s. So I want to get this done before we have another freeze coming. Here's all of the cannas all lined up, and then I have a couple buckets of just loose canna rhizomes, and I'm going to be coming in here and separating them, cutting them from the stalk. That way they can be brought in the house. Now, I think I mentioned in the previous part of the video that if you are in a zone that is a cooler climate, then you're going to have to bring these rhizomes in, put them into dark, cool, heated space, and then you can pull them out again in Mother's Day time frame and start planting. And that is my zone 5B to 6A. That's how I treat them. However, if you live in a warmer zone, you do not have to necessarily put them in a heated, dark, cool place, but a garage that would work. And it doesn't necessarily have to be heated. The temperatures get to be about 40, that is when the bulbs just don't do very well. And that's the reason why I recommend putting it in a heated space. I keep our basement is around 65 degrees with the lid, and these work just fine like that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am just going to cut the stalk off. It doesn't matter how tall or short you do it, just as long as you make a nice clean cut. So I'm going to do that, and then that will also be going into the tote. Now I do give a couple days to let this particular cut dry before I throw it in the tote, because that opens it up for any type of disease to set in. So I always want to make sure that there is enough air to dry those ends. And then I'm just going to repeat the process all the way down. Here. Now the really nice thing about this one, and I'll show you here, is that I can separate this into two, which I probably will do. I don't know yet. Got to get both my hands on it, and I'll see if I'm going to split that one. I was able to split the two, so I split this one and from right here, and it made this one. So I'm just going to work on this whole row of cannas. If you notice, it's very easy to pull them apart if they are running from the roots. So I was able to pull them apart very easily and get 3 of them already. Now I feel like this one is a bit loose too. And don't worry too much about getting all the dirt off. I think that the dirt actually helps the bulbs a little bit from not drying out so much. Provides a little bit of moisture. So I don't worry too much about taking off all of that. Maybe this big clumps of dirt, yes, but not too much into the details. Now this one is definitely a big one. And it's a matter of just trying to really kind of loosen it up. And you can see there's a lot of wiggle room in there. And a lot of roots. Look at those roots. It's crazy. So I'm just kind of working it until I can get it loose enough for storage. Got it here. So I feel this one's coming apart really easily. Okay. So this one's really has a lot more in here too. So I'm going to just kind of keep separating them until I get to a place where I have a bunch of them. This one could go even down even further, but because there's not a lot of root, and I'll kind of show you here. Look right here. There is 2 roots on here, and it has some eyes. So technically you could take a knife and cut this off. Just let this wound dry on both of it, and you would have 2 bulbs here as well. So really easy. I feel this one's pretty loose on this side over here. And you can really kind of tell how loose they are. See this one's just by itself? So I got a few more out of just that one. Well, that concludes cutting all of the cannas down and getting them ready for overwintering in the basement. I'm going to be packing these up in my totes with the lid that has a couple little poke holes through the top just to allow a little bit of airflow. Not a lot, but a little bit of airflow. And I'm going to store these in my 65-degree basement. Still cool, and considering that it might get a little bit cooler than that as the winter progresses. Right now we're sitting at 85, but you know, soon enough we're going to be looking at those 20s, teens, and possibly zeros, and they are going to be just fine in the heated environment down in my basement. So thank you, everybody. I hope you learned something today. And if you're looking for more content from me, check in. Every Tuesday is when I release a new video. I am really enthusiastic about sharing what I know about gardens and giving you guys some tips and tricks and just taking you along with me in my garden. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Have a great garden day.